For today's video, we'll be taking a look at a set of high-speed DDR5 RAMs from KingBank, specifically a 32GB DDR5 6800 CL32 kit from the brand's DDR5 Dark SoarBlade RGB lineup. For those of you who are unaware, KingBank is based in Shenzhen, China, and they are manufacturers of a variety of memory products such as SSDs, DDR5, DDR4, and even DDR3 memory modules. At this point in time, I've had the chance to review several of their products, such as their non-RGB DDR5 Dark Heatsink DDR5 6000 CL28 RAMs about a year ago, and most recently, their DDR5 SoarBlade RGB DDR5 6000 CL30 RAMs that feature a white colorway. On both instances, I came away really impressed by their performance and wallet-friendly prices, so I'm really looking forward to this review. Let's unbox the RAMs and put them through some benchmarks to see how they perform. In terms of aesthetics, the memory modules come with gunmetal grey aluminium heat spreaders with a brushed finish. As can be seen, we get silver accents to the left, as well as some shallow grooves on the heat spreaders for a touch of aesthetic flair. Right in the center of the heat spreaders, we get a printed stylized Chinese character that reads Dao, which means blade in Mandarin Chinese, and is in reference to the fact that these RAMs are from the brand's SoarBlade lineup. We also get an illuminated RGB strip that runs along the long edge of the RAMs, with a KingBank wordmark printed right in the middle. With that, let's run through the specs of the RAMs real quick. As mentioned earlier, this is a 32GB DDR5 6800 CL32 kit that comprises two 16GB memory modules, where according to the table on the screen, which I've lifted from KingBank's AliExpress listing, the DDR5 Dark SoarBlade RGB DDR5 6800 CL32 that I have here utilizes SK Hynix A-die memory chips. You might have noticed that the specs table states that the RAMs have a cache latency of 34. This is because the RAMs have recently been updated to CL32 specs with the new timings and voltages that you can see on the screen, and the brand is currently in the midst of clearing its stock of the older CL34 batch. Once the CL34 modules have been sold out completely, the listing will be updated to reflect CL32 instead. In the meantime, if you do order this CL34 model from AliExpress, you may receive the new CL32 variant instead as a luck of the draw kind of thing, so this is something to take note of. It's worth mentioning that the KRRB series in the DDR5 Dark SoarBlade RGB range also includes DDR5 6400 CL32 offerings in both 64GB and 32GB kits, where they also utilize Hynix A-die memory modules as well, as per the screenshot that I've taken from KingBank's website. Let's take a quick look at the memory module info readouts from Hardware Info 64. As can be seen, these RAMs come shipped with Hynix A-die. Now, one thing that I really appreciate is the fact that these memory modules come with both AMD Expo and Intel XMP profiles. This means there's no need to purchase Expo specific modules for AMD PC builds or Intel XMP specific modules for Intel PC builds for that matter. The DDR5 Dark SoarBlade RGB can be used easily in both AMD and Intel systems, though if you're familiar with DDR5 memory and its intricacies, running DDR5 memory at speeds higher than DDR5 6000 in AMD AM5 systems may not translate into meaningful performance gains, and you may even encounter stability issues. This means that this particular set of DDR5 6800 memory will be well suited for, say, Intel 14th Gen Raptor Lake Refresh and Intel Core Ultra 200 series Arrow Lake PC builds. In terms of customizing the RGB lighting effects of the memory modules, KingBank doesn't have a dedicated app for this, so you'll have to use your motherboard's RGB app to customize the lighting effects accordingly. I tested the KingBank RAMs with an ASUS motherboard, and as can be seen on the screen, you can use the ASUS Armoury Crate app to tweak the lighting effects of the KingBank RAMs. To put the KingBank DDR5 Dark SoarBlade RGB RAMs through their paces, I've set up a test bench that is powered by Intel's Core i5 14600K processor with the following specs that can be seen on the screen, where once again I'll also be benchmarking the DDR5 SoarBlade RGB DDR5 6000 CL30 RAMs that I reviewed some weeks back, just to see how the performance difference is like when comparing DDR5 6000 CL30 memory to DDR5 6800 CL32 memory on the Raptor Lake Refresh platform. In terms of benchmarks, I'll be comparing the performance of the RAMs using 7-zip's compression and decompression benchmark test, AIDA64's cache and memory benchmark test, as well as Cinebench 2024. For gaming performance, I'll be testing the RAMs using a suite of 3 in-game benchmark tests with a RTX 4090 GPU at 1080p. We've got Black Myth Wukong standalone benchmark tool, Cyberpunk 2077, as well as F123. On a side note, if you're new to the ALK Tech channel, do consider subscribing so as to keep up to date with the latest product releases in the PC hardware world. With that, let's get started. First up, we've got the 7-zip compression and decompression test results. With DDR5 6800 CL32 memory, the test bench was 2.4% faster than with the DDR5 6000 CL30 memory for the compression test, and as for the decompression test, the test bench was 0.7% faster with the DDR5 6800 memory installed. With AIDA64's cache and memory benchmark, the DDR5 6800 CL32 RAMs are 10% faster in terms of read speed, 7.6% faster in terms of write speed, and 9.3% faster in terms of copy speed when compared to the DDR5 6000 CL30 RAMs. Moving on to Cinebench 2024, we see that the Core i5 14600K attains a multi-core score of 1388 versus 1347 points when benchmarked with the KingBank DDR5 6000 CL30 RAMs. For single core scores, the 14600K achieved a score of 121 on both the DDR5 6800 CL32 and DDR5 6000 CL30 RAMs. For gaming performance, first up, we've got Black Myth Wukong's standalone benchmark tool, where the performance of the test system is pretty much identical with both RAMs. In both instances, the system achieved an average FPS of 134. With Cyberpunk 2077's in-game benchmark, the average FPS that the test system puts out is pretty much identical again when comparing the results obtained with the DDR5 6800 memory and the DDR5 6000 memory. Finally, with F123's in-game benchmark test, again, we see that the test system puts out very similar average, minimum and maximum FPS figures, with the DDR5 6800 results being slightly ahead of those obtained with the DDR5 6000 memory installed. Let's take a quick look at thermals with F123's in-game benchmark test, where I ran a 3-lap test for around 5 minutes in total. The KingBank DDR5 Dark SoarBlade RGB RAMs achieved an average SPD hub temperature of 45.9 degrees Celsius when on the stock DDR5 6800 CL32 XMP profile. Just as a FYI, testing was conducted in a non-air conditioned room with an ambient temperature of 31 degrees Celsius. And with that, I'd say that the KingBank DDR5 Dark SoarBlade RGB DDR5 6800 CL32 is a pretty solid high-speed desktop DDR5 memory offering with RGB lighting, where in my opinion, it can definitely hold its own against other more mainstream brands such as Crucial, G.Skill, Kingston, and the like. Now, I've reviewed 3 of their DDR5 memory products till date, and while these RAMs were sponsored, in the interest of transparency, I really still think that KingBank is a severely underrated brand and is definitely worthy of your consideration. The RAMs are available to purchase from KingBank's official AliExpress store,
where I've included the purchase link in the video description down below. Do bear in mind that the link still currently reflects the old DDR5 6800 CL34 variant that the brand is currently clearing stock for. Once these old stocks have been depleted, KingBank will replace the listing details with the DDR5 6800 CL32 version that I've covered in this review. And if you're intending to get this CL34 variant anyway, you might get lucky and receive the CL32 variant instead at random. As of the time of publishing this video, it's worth noting that the 11/11 Singles Day campaign is coming in just a couple of days. This is a good opportunity to get a good discount on the RAM for your upcoming PC build, especially since in the past few weeks, we've seen a big jump in RAM prices across the board and pretty much across all RAM manufacturers due to the AI boom, which has fueled unprecedented demand for memory modules for use in data centers and the like. Not a great piece of news for everyday consumers like you and me, unfortunately, but if you're in need of RAM for your PC build, this upcoming sales campaign on AliExpress could be a good chance to save some cash. Finally, just a gentle reminder that KingBank does produce the KRRB lineup of the DDR5 Dark SoarBlade RGB with different capacities, speeds, and cache latencies. Apart from the 32GB DDR5 6800 CL32 kit in this video, which doesn't yet have a standalone product page on AliExpress, we've got the older DDR5 6800 CL34 kit, which, like I said, is in the midst of being phased out in favor for the CL32 kit in this video, as well as a DDR5 6400 CL32 kit in 32GB and 64GB capacities. So you want to double check exactly which model you've added to cart before checking out. With that, thank you so much for watching, hit the like button and get subscribed if you've enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you guys around the next time.